Hey guys, it's Lastbrohican, and in spirit of the Steam Halloween sale, I decided to do a game that is offered as one of the specials, and that is Darkest Dungeon. Darkest Dungeon is a 2D, turn-based dungeon crawler that pits 4 heroes of your choosing to traverse and conquer various randomly generated dungeons, fighting various monsters, doing different quests, and completing unique boss fights in order to make it to the end game, which is reclaiming your mansion. Now to continue on to look at some of the positives. This game has an incredible fresh take on turn-based dungeon crawlers because there's such a huge sense of accomplishment when completing dungeons and when taking out your first few bosses. One of the next positives is the art and physical design of the game. While simplistic in nature, the dark-themed look and feel almost gives you a sense of dread as your companions try traversing these various dungeons. My last positive of the game is its risk and reward system. This game is very much rooted in decision making and what you decide to keep in your inventory, who you decide to go into a dungeon with, who you decide to fight, and where you go in the dungeon can have huge impacts on the outcome of whether or not who lives and who dies, and whether your expedition is successful or not. Now to some of the negatives. There's a very real sense of grinding in this game. Whether it is trying to grind your champions to a higher level or to gain more loot to sell and buy supplies, much of the game is dedicated to not so much progressing the storyline, but rather just getting leveled up and geared for the next dungeon. Along the same lines of grinding, the other negative to this game is that there is a very real sense of repetitiveness. Every level you climb for your champions, you still see a lot of the same creatures, and literally the exact same bosses when you traverse through these dungeons. You know, as you level up, the only difference is that maybe they do more damage and they're a little bit tougher, but you see the same characters and the same bosses over and over again. And this is also along the same lines as your champions. You'll have champions of different classes that maybe will vary in color, but there's no difference in armor. A lot of it is just the same, and it's the same thing you'll see from hour 1 into hour 10, hour 20 of the game. Now on to my verdict of Darkest Dungeon. It is a very solid game, and just like the game I reviewed previously, Clockwork Empires, it is one of those few Steam Early Access games that made it out of the Early Access battleground and kind of bloomed into something that is a very beautiful game. But this is kind of a buyer's beware for Darkest Dungeon. It is not for the faint of heart. It is a challenging game that will test any level of gamer. You will get frustrated with the game, with how much time you spent in, and it could all be for naught for a botched expedition. And there's no redos. You can't save and redo it again. You have to live with your decisions. That's all I have, guys, for the Darkest Dungeon. If you are a first-time viewer of Gamut, please hit that subscribe button. If you liked what you saw, please hit that like button. And as always, guys, happy gaming, gamers.